I don't think I'll ever be able to walk through a park again, day or night. My name is Ethan Carter, and for most of my life, parks were my escape. I'd go for late-night walks to clear my head, headphones in, hands in pockets, letting the world quiet down around me. But after what happened in Willow Ridge Park, every rustle of leaves makes my stomach twist. It began on a cold night in October. Fog lay thick over the grass. Street lamps buzzed and flickered in the damp air. I walked the usual loop around the pond, watching the moon ripple over the surface like a pale eye staring back at me. Then I heard it. Singing. A woman's voice, soft, fragile, drifting through the fog like wind through a bottle. There was no melody, just wavering notes rising and falling like someone crying through a tune they couldn't quite remember. I stopped walking. The singing stopped instantly, like I had been heard. When I started again, I felt watched. The fog swirled around me in slow curls. My breath fogged in front of me. Then, on the old wooden bridge, I saw her. A woman, white dress soaked through with mist, head bowed, hair covering her face like seaweed, bare feet on the damp wood. She was facing me, even without seeing her eyes. I felt her staring. I froze. Then she moved. Not by stepping. She jerked, like a puppet yanked forward by strings. Then again, fast, glitching forward, skipping the space between. I stumbled backward. She stopped abruptly, and the singing started again. But this time, it came from behind me. I spun around. Nothing. When I looked back, she was gone. I ran home like my life depended on it, lungs burning, heart pounding. I swore I'd never go back. But the next night, curiosity won. I returned. I walked the loop. Quiet. Too quiet. Then something cold dripped onto my shoulder. Water. But the branches above me were bone dry. Another drop. On my neck. I turned. She was inches behind me, her hair dripping thick strings of water, her mouth barely visible under the tangle, stretched into a trembling, unnatural smile. Water poured down her face, though there was no rain. She whispered, "You came back." Her hand shot toward my throat, not to choke me, but to push me. I fell back onto the wet grass, scrambling away while she glided toward me, joints cracking. I sprinted toward the park entrance. As soon as I crossed the gate, she stopped. The fog swallowed her whole. I moved across the country 2 months later, but sometimes, when fog rolls in and the world gets quiet, I hear her singing again, calling me back. There's a small park behind my apartment building, Maple Grove Park. Kids rarely play there. The equipment is old, rusted, creaky. The kind of playground that feels like it remembers things. One evening I walked over after work. The sun was low, casting long orange shadows through the broken fence. I sat on a bench drinking coffee when I noticed one of the swings moving. Just slightly at first, then higher and higher, until it was swinging full force, straight out, like an invisible child pumped their legs as hard as they could. But there was no wind, not even the faintest breeze. My heartbeat picked up. Before I had time to process it, the second swing started moving. Then the third, then all four, swinging perfectly synchronized, back, forth, chains rattling in the dead still air. Then I heard laughter, children's laughter, but the playground was completely empty. The laughter echoed around me in circles. Something brushed against my leg, cold, the size of a small hand. I flinched so hard I nearly dropped my cup. Then the merry-go-round behind me began turning. slow at first, then faster, spinning even though nothing touched it. Then it stopped abruptly, and a handprint appeared on the metal surface, small, wet, pressed hard enough to dent the steel slightly. I ran out of the park shaking, but a few days later, I went back. Stupid, I know, but I had to know I wasn't losing my mind. Everything was still again, until I saw the ground under the swings. In the dirt, names had been scratched, as if by tiny fingers. Lily Connor, Mia Jackson. My blood went cold. Then footprints formed right in front of me, small and muddy, circling the swings as though children were running around them. The swings moved again. A cold breath blew into my ear. "Come play with us." I felt fingers, small, cold, impossibly real, grab the bottom of my shirt. I screamed and sprinted out of the park. The next day, something was outside my apartment door. 4 muddy, child-sized footprints. They led right up to my doormat and stopped there. I haven't gone back to Maple Grove Park, but late at night, I hear swings creaking in the alley behind my building, even when the wind is still. Every morning before sunrise, I jogged through Oak Valley Park. It was peaceful at that hour before the world woke up. Even the birds stayed quiet. Then the November fog rolled in, dense, swallowing the park whole. That's when I first saw him. I heard footsteps behind me, fast and steady. I figured it was another jogger, so I moved over. But when I glanced back, a figure in a bright red hoodie was running behind me. Only he wasn't touching the ground. He hovered several inches above the trail, moving with unnatural smoothness. His hood was pulled tight over his face. No skin, no hair, just darkness. I froze mid-step. He glided past me, a blur of motion, and vanished into the fog like he'd been absorbed. The next morning, I tried to convince myself it was exhaustion or fog distortion. But when I returned, the fog was thicker. I ran anyway. Halfway down the trail, I heard breathing behind me. Fast, heavy, too close. I slowed. The breathing slowed. I stopped. The breathing stopped. I refused to turn around. Then a whisper crawled into my ear. "You're slower today, Kyle." I sprinted out of that park as fast as my legs could carry me. But the third morning, he came to my apartment. At 4 a.m., someone knocked on my door. Soft, then louder, then pounding hard enough to shake the frame. I looked through the peephole. No one. But the knocking continued. I pressed my phone's flashlight to the peephole to see more clearly. A red hood was inches from the door, breathing against it, fogging the wood. Slowly, the hood shifted sideways until the darkness where the face should be lined up with the peephole. There was nothing inside it, just void. A long fingernail scraped down the door. "Keep running." I didn't hesitate. I moved out that week. But sometimes, early in the morning, when the fog hangs low over the streets, I see a red hoodie standing still at the corner, watching, waiting for me to run again.